I'll spend money, I want the phone to ring, just give me leads. You don't want to be in that spot. You're always going to be trying to chase and pay for leads if you don't build up a brand. Where should I invest in advertising? Pay-per-click or Facebook ads? Business just looks like business once you get to a certain size. This is going to be my first Q&A video. As long as you're committed to learn it and you implement it in your business, you can get yourself very far. This is a very good exercise before you hire someone. The best mentors you're gonna find early on in business are gonna be industry specific. People doing exactly what you're doing, people that have done exactly what you're trying to do. In my opinion, this will change over time, but when you're early on in the business building phase, you wanna have industry specific mentors and industry specific people that you're learning from online. This was my experience and I can tell you why I think this. Early on when you're in the business building phase, you're building your business piece by piece. You're getting your marketing strategies down. You're trying to build a local brand in your community. You're getting your internal systems and processes and automations down. You're trying to build a culture around this new thing you're building. And there's industry-specific nuance that you don't want to miss. For example, if I follow a guy online that's teaching me how to do digital marketing and he owns a painting company, and he's a wizard at digital marketing, but he owns a painting company. Sure, he has valuable things to show me, but the differences between painting and roofing are gonna make it so that I wanna follow a roofer digital marketer, not painting, because my average tickets are different, my type of customer is different, the buying process is different, the buying cycle is different. There's a lot of differences when you go industry from industry that you don't want to miss early on. So in my opinion, the best advice you can get, the best people you can learn from are people that are in your specific field. As you progress, this will change, and you can kind of just take business advice as business advice, because as you climb the ladder of business, your business and your daily responsibilities and your role and your position as a leader will look a lot similar to this other business owner over here that's in a completely different field than you, probably in a completely different industry. For example, like I follow Alex Hormozi now. He gives me a lot of valuable shit that I'm able to implement in my business. Some key KPIs that are just business specific as a whole that I can use today. But I wouldn't have been able to use any of that stuff in year 1, year 2, year 3, even year 4, because I wasn't in a place to hear that kind of stuff. I needed to know how to build my roofing company. If I take a step back, Tommy Mello, I fucking love that guy. Tommy Mello is in home services. So yes, he's not in roofing, but he's in home services, which kind of covers the umbrella of roofing, and he's built a giant successful business, and he's built it piece by piece like I'm trying to do. So he's like the next step down of Alex Hormozi. So like in the beginning, I watched guys like Eric Reno. I watched Dimitri. I watched roofing specific stuff. Anytime I want to learn about marketing, I watch roofing specific marketing. Joseph Hughes. I watched roofing specific content. Only roofing for the first few years. Then I was able to kind of elevate into like Tommy Mello, home services as a whole, because I had kind of gotten myself above the roofing a little bit. My systems were set. I had to dial it. I had my marketing strategies dialed in. I had my sales processes dialed in. I had a team. Everybody kind of knew what they were doing. And now, because I was working on the business more so than in the business, I was ready for just home service advice and home service business advice as a whole. One step further, Alex Hormozi has never done home services, doesn't really talk about home services, just talks about business in general. But because of the position I am in today, I can watch his videos and improve my business because he has a lot of good tips about business. And the higher you get in business, somebody says this, I can't remember who, but I agree with it. The higher you get in business, business just looks like business. You have a marketing department, you have an HR department, you have an accounting department, you got a sales department, you got a CFO. Business just looks like business. Whether you're selling retail clothing or you're selling roofs or you're painting people's houses, business just looks like business once you get to a certain size. So the pool of mentors that you can choose from widens as you move up. But in the beginning, you should be niched down as specific as you can get it. And I mean as specific as you can get it. So like if you use Job Nimbus and you listen to me talk about Job Nimbus, that's going to be much more valuable for you as a roofer trying to build your business, as a roofer trying to get your internal systems nailed down, as a roofer trying to get your estimating nailed down, your automations nailed down. It would be much more valuable for you to hear from a guy like me who also uses Job Nimbus and has been using it a little longer than you and has some tools that you can can literally watch the video, go into your internal system in your business and tweak things based on what I said. I can show you Job Nimbus on my computer. That's super valuable. Obviously way more valuable than hearing a guy, even a roofer, but talk about just systems broadly. You know, that will help you. It's valuable, but not as valuable. So the more specific of advice you can get online, the better, because you're going to be able to implement more things and it's going to be more applicable to you. And the reason I started this video off this way is because I mentioned before, I love Tommy Mello, but I wasn't ready for Tommy Mello in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. I found him, I think, like a year ago. And he does Q&As a lot, and I'm always answering questions. Now, I get people reach out to me every day, so I'm like, I should just do Q&As. Instead of me thinking in my head, all right, what do people need help with? What should people hear? I could take the guessing out of it, and I could just do a show where I just pull questions from my DMs and answer questions. I'm working on getting a platform set up so that anyone who wants to communicate with me, they'll reach out via DM or reach out via YouTube. And I'm just going to send a link. That way all the communications go to one spot and it's just easy for me to keep track of. But for the meantime, keep bombarding my YouTube comments, keep bombarding my DMs. I don't care. I like it. If I've given you my number, text me, call me. I gave you my number for a reason. I do this because I like it. I do this because I like it. I always knew in the back of my head when I was following guys like Eric Reno, when I was following guys like Dimitri, that there would be a day where I would do the same thing. I don't know why. I just like had it in the back of my head. Not like some big master plan, not to like make money off of the internet, but just like I had this feeling that I was supposed to make videos too. And I used to even make videos in my car or in my truck during work days when I was out running around like a maniac building my business. I used to make selfie videos in my truck and they are terrible. And I should throw little clips of them in. That's a good idea. I've never thought about that before. No one's ever seen them. But I was kind of just like documenting my journey because I remember hearing Gary Vee say you should document your journey. And I would take these dumb selfie videos. And actually, I might spend some time watching them today because they are bad. But I might start throwing them in here. But I say that to mean I always knew in the back of my head that I was going to do this because I want to turn around and help people the way people help me. There's successful people, successful young people too, in every industry, in every field that I've met that literally learned how to do their entire business or learned the whole skill if they do something that takes a skill. My video editor, for example. They literally taught themselves with the help of people online. Like this is the age we live in. You can do anything you want in this world if you're committed to learn it and you just go on the internet. And you don't even necessarily have to pay for mentorship, although you're going to get better mentorship if you pay because the best mentors are too busy to spend time with you and not be paid. To be honest, I'll probably have to do it eventually just on a numbers thing. Like you can't help everybody. I probably already spend too much of my time helping roofers, but I really do like it. So like if someone reaches out, I have no problem spending time with them. But probably sometime soon, I'm going to have to charge something just on a numbers thing. Like I'm just going to have to. But you don't have to pay for people when you're early on. You can learn a good amount of stuff from people's free stuff online. As long as you're committed to learn it and you implement it in your business, you can get yourself very far. People are doing this all over the world today. They just go online, learn something, do it in real life, and they're becoming successful. And it's an amazing thing. This is going to be my first Q&A video. I have a long list of questions we put together from my DMs. Put more questions in the comments. I like this stuff. Message me, text me, whatever you got. My first question, do you think I need to rebrand? And this guy had sent me to his website. I looked at his logo. I looked at his Google. I knew what his name was. And then he asked me, like, what do you think, man? Because it's in the back of my head. Do you think I should rebrand? And my answer is if you think you should rebrand and it's bothering you and it's in the back of your head, then you should fucking do it. Because I went through this. I had the same thoughts going on. I remember, I think it was Dimitri that first put me on it. I remember him talking about like the importance of a name, the importance of a brand, the importance of being memorable. Then I started to dive into it even deeper. And then I started learning that your marketing will be more effective for the whole career of your business if you have a good brand. People in your community are going to remember who you are, and your brand recognition is going to be better if you have a strong name, if you have strong colors, if you have a strong look. And it just started to fuck with me. And I remember it was Christmas. We take a week off for Christmas. And it was in my second year, the end of my second year. And I was on my Christmas break. And I remember I was watching Shark Tank with my family up in Pennsylvania. And I thought about it the whole week. And I just decided, like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm just going to fucking do it. It's never going to be easier to do it. I'm still small. It won't be that expensive. It won't be that big of a pain in the ass. What if this thought never goes away and I'm twice the size in 2 years? Well, then it's going to be twice the cost to rebrand. I'm going to be moving backwards even more because now I have a bigger reputation that I'm trying to combat with my new name change. Just do it now. And I came back from that Christmas break, January 1. I decided I'm going to pick a name. I'm going to pick new colors. I'm just going to do it. And probably by the end of February, I was completely done with everything. Like the trucks were switched over. The cards were switched over. All my licenses, all my insurances, my Google listing. I had new shirts. I had everything done. And I really didn't skip a beat. I just sometimes I'd have to explain it. Like, yeah, why'd you switch the name? Because it's roofing. And people would think like, we were in a lawsuit or something happened and I was running for my old name. And I was just, no, man, I wanted to pick a more memorable name. I felt like my name didn't stand out. I felt like it wasn't memorable, so I switched it. And I didn't notice any drop in my Google listing. I didn't notice any drop in leads. I didn't notice anything. Pretty quickly, I realized that it was a great fucking move because my truck stood out. People started saying they see us everywhere, and that's continued. This is like 4 years ago now, and that's continued ever since. I feel like we're more memorable of a name. I feel like we stand out. I feel like all the roofers knew who we were rather than just like this Andrew Thomas guy. And I feel like it gave us a more legitimate image. It made us look like more of an organization than just like some guy with a roofing company, which is what I wanted to build. I didn't want to be the guy. My name was on all the trucks. I didn't want that. I wanted to build an organization that had a solid team around it that could continue to grow. And I didn't want my name on everything. I wanted everybody to feel like they were part of a team. So for so many reasons, the answer is yes. And I would just be terrified if I had it in my head to rebrand. I decided not to rebrand. And then that thought never went away. Next question. Yo. I'm at the point where I'm going to bring in an office member, answer phones, pull permits, send out material orders, etc. We operate out of Job Nimbus, and with the fast growth, timeout. See, this is perfect. This guy operates out of Job Nimbus. I operate out of Job Nimbus. So when I speak about Job Nimbus, or when this guy reaches out about Job Nimbus, or when I do Job Nimbus tutorials, I'm the best person for him to follow because like there's not a lot of people doing that. It's rare you're going to find someone in your space using the same tech stack. So because you found that, I'm probably the best person for this guy to follow early on because of the technology. But anyway, being accurate, detailed, and keeping fuck-ups to a minimum is huge. Anyway, you can share some basic process and procedures that you would have for a position like that. Not trying to reinvent the wheel, just want to start out with a good base. Thanks, man. Okay, we're getting ready to hire our first office person. I started this exercise not with my first hires, but like, a little after that. Maybe like hires 3 and 4, maybe even 4 and 5. It's hard to remember. But this is a very good exercise before you hire someone. You sit in front of the computer and first you type out everything you want this person to do. And you have to be realistic about it. So write down every single task that you want this person to do. I want them to pull permits. I want them to order material. I want them to answer the phone. And let's just keep it to those 3 so I can talk more pointed and give you an example of what that looks like. Okay. I want them to order material. How are they going to order material? Ask yourself that question. Because you're not going to hire some superstar that's just going to come in and be able to do everything. Maybe you can. But chances are your first hire, your first office hire, you're going to have to do some teaching. And that's okay. You just want to hire the right personality and be able to teach them. Later on, when you've got plenty of money to hire some superstar that's got 25 years roofing experience, go ahead and do that. But early on, your first hires, that's not the type of person we hire. So we're going to try to hire for the right personality, someone that's looking to be with you long term, and someone that can learn new things. So how are they going to order material? Okay, how is someone going to order material? Well, in my business, there's definitely some material nuances and some things that need to be taught. But there's a lot of our ordering material systems that I could have a third grade girl do because of the way we estimate our projects and the way estimates can be converted into material orders. Because we don't price by the square, we do line item pricing. It's not double work to then estimate the job and then order material. We can just convert our estimates into material orders and make little tweaks on this will get delivered here, this will get delivered here. Or this part of the material order will come from the shop, this part will come from the supplier. So if we can turn our estimates into material orders, well, who's doing the estimating? Are you going to still do the estimating and she's going to order material? Because if you're going to do the estimating, then her material orders will be accurate if your estimates are accurate. And then you could take it one step further. Who's doing the estimating? In my business, I could teach a third grade girl how to do estimating. Yes, there's some nuances that will need some experience, but for the most part, I can have a third grade girl do it with simple math and a computer. But you get what I'm getting at. So you have to make your systems almost dummy proof. You're not going to make them 100% dummy proof where anybody can do the job. But you can put systems in place to make everything very easy. So you have to think about that. Well, how is this new person going to order material? And then you answer the question. Okay, well, I just need to show her how to break up this line item estimate, remove the labor because that's not material, remove the permits because that's not material, remove the dumpster because that's not material. Okay, maybe you set your job up into 2 separate deliveries like I do, or maybe it's all in one. If it's all in one, great. You're just going to have to remove what's not material from the estimate. And teach her how to just send that material order off. What needs to be changed, how to put in the color for the shingles or whatever you got. It's very easy. Maybe you have 2 material orders in that estimate and you just have to teach her, okay, this section of the estimate, this will get delivered by this supplier, this will get delivered by that supplier. Send this one here, send that one there. It's really simple stuff. Permitting. How is she going to pull permits? This probably has a higher learning curve because there's different building departments. At least I have different building departments. So do you have anything on paper on how to teach her how to pull permits? Or a little cheat sheet on okay, this is the Palm Beach County permit process. You have a sheet that goes step by step. Open the website browser. Click permits. Click residential roofing permit. Enter property information. Download product approvals from this folder. And then, is it a shingle roof? And then you have a folder for shingle product approvals. And just lay it all out step by step. So when she comes in, be like, okay, well, I'm going to show you how to pull a permit in Palm Beach County. And you stand at the computer with her. You go through it step by step. You give her the paper that you typed out. And you teach her. But then you also say, hey, in the future, if you get lost, just refer to this paper. And if there's still a problem, just ask me a question. You can always ask me a question. We're not just trying to remove ourselves from having to train people, but you should have things documented on paper so that they can kind of be self-sufficient. You show them one time, then they use the paper guide as help, and then eventually they remember how to do it and they'll never ask you anything. And you just monitor them. I just went on pretty deep for all this. Answer the phones. That was my last one. How is she going to answer the phones? Well, you should type out a little script. You should type out the greeting you want her to use. You should type out the information you want her to ask for. That way when she comes in, you're going to say, here's the greeting you're going to do. Open the CRM so I can show you something. You're going to click add contact while you're on the phone. You're going to give them the greeting. You're going to ask them this list of questions, and you're going to input that into the system. And then once she gets that down, maybe you add a little bit more to it. Now maybe you try to get her pre-qualifying calls, or building relationships with customers to really try to dial in on your first impression of your company when people call. But you just have to list out all the tasks she's going to do and then ask yourself, how is she going to do them? What are the systems I have in place for her to do them? Because chances are, if it's your first hire, you have nothing on paper. Zero. And you don't want to hire someone with nothing on paper and no system set up, and just she comes in and you're just fucking winging it. That's not good for her. That's not good for you. And I keep referring to it as her. I probably shouldn't do that. It's 2024. Don't be sexist. It could be a guy. But you don't want to do that. It's not good for him or her. It's not good for you. You want to have things on paper. That will impress her. That'll make her feel good about working in your company. It'll also make it more organized. It'll also make you able to throw a little more at her because you're not expecting her to remember everything you tell her. You're going to tell her one time. She's going to refer to the sheets that you've given her. And that's it. She'll be off and rolling, and you just monitor her, check her stuff. You know, certain things like a material order, you're going to want to say, all right, well, send me the material order before we send it in, and I'll look it over. And then you look it over. If she missed anything, you'll go up to her. You'll say, hey, this was supposed to be this for this reason. And maybe before you go up to her, you're like, all right, she messed up the underlayment. Why did she mess up the underlayment? And then you check your system. Is it a system problem, or is it just like a little improvement that you got to go over with her? Oh, maybe it's a system problem. Maybe it's not even her fault. Maybe there's a way you can tweak the system she's using to make sure that this mistake doesn't happen again. You always want to look at errors in your business or mistakes in your business as, is this a system problem or is this a coaching thing? Because if it's a system problem, it's probably your fault. And if it's a coaching problem, it's still your fault, but it's okay. You just coach it. But a lot of times things can get fixed with a system improvement rather than coaching the mistake out of there. Because if you make the system improvement to the error, to correct the error, you don't ever have to worry about it again. Not with future employees, not with this employee, not with anybody, because the system is fixed. And that's what you want. You know, there's definitely things that need to be coached. I'm not saying like everything can be solved with a system, but most things can honestly be solved with a system. So you want to start thinking that way. The sooner you start to think of your business as one big cohesive system, you're going to rely less on needing superstars and just more on how do I have the best business systems, and that's going to make you able to scale. So those are just my. I fucking rant, don't I? I rant. Those are my thoughts on your first office employee. I hope it helped. Next question. Hey, I have some questions on a P&L. When do you enter the roofing income on your P&L? Do you enter it as soon as it is sold or as soon as the project is completed? Oh, yeah, I put this one in here. I answered this question. And actually, a lot of these I may have answered. So, like, if you ask me a question, I'll probably just answer you if I have time. But then I'll just put it on here because I can elaborate more, and then other people probably have the same question. But you know who you are who asked this. You enter profit, income goes onto your P&L as revenue as soon as the invoice is created. So this is just a simple tweak that we had to do with this guy, but just to explain it further, he was entering an invoice for the entire job on completion of that job. So even though he was collecting a deposit from customers, he wasn't putting an invoice in the system because he felt like he didn't want the invoice to add to his receivables. But he didn't realize that he could just invoice for the deposit, collect payment on the deposit because the payment was collected, and then it wouldn't be on his receivables. And now this would offset his cost of goods sold expenses in the progress of the job, because that was the issue. He was waiting until the jobs were completed, a little retail, a little insurance, but he had incurred all these expenses. He had paid the crews, he had bought material on the jobs, so his profit was showing up like shit because he wasn't applying any income to the jobs. But you should be creating invoices for when the payments are due. So my payment schedule is deposit, then they owe us another payment when we day one of the job, and then another payment when we're done. So I create the invoice for the deposit as soon as the job is signed, and we collect payment, and then I receive payment on the invoice. So no receivables, but I've logged some income to the job. Same thing with the check that's owed to us on day one of the job. We send that invoice the day before we start the job. It's usually collected the morning we start. We receive payment on that check, and now it doesn't go to receivables, but we have income going towards that job. So now we have some progress payment income that will offset the costs that we're incurring before we get our final payment. And he was worried about putting invoices in for deposits because he didn't want it to look like his receivables were too high because the job wasn't done. So he didn't view it as receivables because the job wasn't done. But I explained to him that it is receivables. If for some reason you sign a contract and you don't collect a deposit, but you have sent the invoice, well, that is late receivables because the deposit is due on signing. So that is accurate receivables. Same thing with my progress payment on day one of the job. If I send that invoice the day before we start and for some reason we don't collect that check the morning of the job, well, that's late receivables because that payment was due per the contract the day we started the job. So that is accurate receivables. I don't know if anyone else has that question, but I threw it on here. What's your best way of finding high-skilled laborers? That's a part we struggle, and we kind of rely on our guys to bring their friends, and they're just a set of hands, not good workers. Okay, labor, good labor. So this guy was a landscaper. And this just goes with what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't have any advice for this guy because he's a landscaper. But there's a landscaper out there with a landscaping business, Keith Kalfas. I've gave him a shout out before. That's Eric Reno's boy. I know that guy. He probably has a way better answer to this question than I do because I can only speak as a roofer to this question. In roofing, we pay piecework. So the foreman is in charge of the crew. The foreman is in charge of assembling the crew and bringing his guys to me as employees. And the foreman decides what the guys on his crew make per day. And the foreman is awarded for his crew moving quickly because he's paid piecework. So the more work they get done in a day, the more money he makes. In my opinion, you shouldn't do roofing for anything other than piecework if you're a roofer. I don't know why you would ever do that. I was a roofer. I would never roof by the hour. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. And I don't know why you would, I'm sure there's some roofing companies out there that have good crews that get some work done, that pay their guys by the day or pay their guys by the hour, but I can't see how. And just because we're paying these guys piecework to move fast and get a lot of work done doesn't mean that all these roofers are just sloppy and cutting corners and terrible. There's great roofers out there. And in my opinion, usually the really good roofers, like the high quality roofers, the one that do good installs, they also move fast. I just think that's part of it. I was a roofer, I know. So like just because we're paying these guys to move quickly doesn't mean I'm like dealing with nightmares all the time about terrible installs. Our roofers are good. They just also happen to be fast. But because of the pay structure is set up in a piecework format, we don't really worry about revenue per employee being a problem because the foremans just drive their guys to make sure they're producing and getting things done, and if there's punch out issues, if there is an issue because the corner was cut, they go back and fix it. And we make the foreman go back. And that ensures that in the future, he's going to make sure that there's no issues. He's going to monitor the guys for quality. So that's how it works in roofing. So like we don't really have like the revenue per employee being low as a problem in our business. I would try to recreate that in your business, in landscaping somehow. I would try to coach up, which I did this early on. I would try to coach up your young foreman, the guy who you think can take over the production side of it, take over the field side of the business, and just like tell him like, hey, dude, this is what you can make in this. We can really go somewhere in this. This is who you can be. And kind of coach him up to be that guy so that he can drive the production of the guys and he can drive the labor in the field and he can be rewarded for that because he deserves to be rewarded for that. That's the type of atmosphere I would try to build. I wouldn't, as the business owner, want to be the guy who's like out in the field, like trying to like whip my guys into shape so they can produce. I would want to offload that as soon as possible. You got way other things you should be focusing on than making sure the guys are getting enough work done. So like that should be your foreman's job and he should get rewarded for it. So like there's bonus structures you could work out. Maybe there is a piecework model that works in your business. Maybe there's a hybrid model of piecework and guaranteed salary. Whatever that is, I would try to recreate that. Because these guys are busting their ass. It's hot as fuck. They work hard. They should be rewarded for it. These guys that are working outside every day, killing themselves, should be able to make really good money. I like when people are surprised to hear what my foremans make and what some of the top roofers make because they fucking deserve it, dude. You couldn't do this job. So they deserve it. So that's my answer to that. Where should I invest in advertising? Pay-per-click or Facebook ads? I've never done either, but I need more jobs like now in all caps. Any advice would help. Thanks. Okay. Well, since you need jobs now, all caps, the short answer to this question is definitely Google pay-per-click for the simple reason that Google pay-per-click is showing your ads to people who are in the process of shopping for roofing. Facebook is not. The leads now thing is like, I understand it. We all need leads now, especially when you're early on. You don't have a big referral base. You don't have a reputation. You don't have a local brand name in the community. You need leads now. You're always going to need leads now, but especially in the beginning. I used to use Thumbtack when I was early on. I don't know the status of the pay-per-lead platforms. You should be doing LSAs. I'm hoping you're doing LSAs. If you're not on Google LSAs, get on Google LSAs. Google is king. That's a good pay-per-lead service. You should be on there. But I don't know about Thumbtack, Angie, Home Advisor. I know they're all dog shit on some level, but I feel like there may be a space in there for a new guy. I don't know. I don't really want to say that as advice. I know they're hyper competitive, but like if you're new and you can get out to the house right away and be first and impress people, maybe you can get jobs that way. I think I've heard somebody say that like the guys that have been on it the longest and the guys that have built up reviews on the platform kind of get like favorable treatment. So maybe it would be hard as a new guy to hop on there and make it work. But you have to do what you have to do in the beginning to keep the schedule full and to continue to get jobs. Because with no jobs, you have no business. So we have to get the ball rolling. What I'll say about leads now is the number one thing you need to do is just do an amazing job for every customer. Wow every customer. Spend the money on your job site marketing. Buy whatever signage you need. You should be knocking on doors in the neighborhood. You should be asking the owner for referrals. You should be doing everything you can to create more jobs out of the jobs you're already at. You should max that out. You should be on Google LSAs, local service ads for pay-per-lead. You should be on there. And then if the option is pay-per-click or Facebook, the answer is definitely pay-per-click. But you're going to spend more money on pay-per-click than Facebook. But if we're talking about leads now, you need to do pay-per-click. We have a lot of success with mailers. So depending on where you are, this is market-specific advice. I live on the southeast coast of Florida. There's a lot of retirees down here. Maybe that's why I have so much success with mailers as opposed to other parts of the country. But I've heard other guys say they consistently do mailers as well. Mailers are a good place to drum up new leads. Roof Quote Pro. Roofle is a good place to bring more leads. So if you're getting people to your website and you can let them know how much their roof costs and they fill that out on your website, you're going to get them in as a lead. Will you be able to book appointments with all of them? No, but you'll be able to book appointments with some of them. And our website conversions has gone up dramatically ever since we put that tool on our website. And we direct people to that tool in different marketing channels we have. We'll put a QR code to the tool on our mailers. We'll run Facebook video ads that send people to that tool. And I'm getting carried away with all the different forms of marketing. But the reason I'm getting carried away with all the different forms of marketing is because that's the marketing strategy you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about building a brand and then doing a little bit of everything so you create that halo effect of people seeing you everywhere. Because most people in your community don't need your services right now, but they will in the future. So if you can start to do everything and be seen everywhere, and they see your trucks and they see your mailers and maybe they see your TV streaming commercials. I say TV streaming because it's much more affordable than actually TV commercials with TV networks. And you can basically accomplish the same thing with what we call OTT, which is just streaming ads. So you can get hooked up with somebody that can run those for you. And the benefits to OTT are most people stream their TV or have a smart TV, so you can serve them TV commercials just like you could serve regular cable commercials. But also the targeting preferences on OTT. You can specifically target addresses and like a bunch of different advertising targeting preferences or whatever on OTT that you can't do on cable, and it's cheaper. So maybe you look at that eventually. I don't know what I said so far, but mailers, Facebook, Google pay-per-click. You do everything, and now you're seen everywhere. And especially if you have a nice logo, a nice brand, nice colors, now you've been seen everywhere, and you've been seen everywhere for a little while. So those people start to trickle in. So where you may just feel like you're getting calls to the office, you don't know what specific marketing strategy brought that organic call to the office, but it's typically overall a combination of all these things. But when we try to think about where can I get the most leads now, it's just a tough question to ask, and it's Google. Google pay-per-click would be my answer to that. But I would, if I was you, I know you need jobs now, and you should look for solutions to get jobs now, so Google pay-per-click. But I would also take a look at your numbers, take a look at your overhead, take a look at your profits, see what you think you can afford for a marketing budget moving forward, and then strategically decide what you're going to do moving forward so that your company now has an ongoing marketing effort. Because you need an ongoing marketing effort. So we're not looking to just throw money at something to bring us leads tomorrow. We've built this machine that always markets our company. So we want more people to know who our business is every single day, no matter what, not just tomorrow because I need more leads tomorrow, just all the time. And you don't have to spend $1 million to do this. You can get really strategic with it. One way I would do it if I was trying to get super strategic, and I still do hints of this strategy I'm about to tell you, is I would be very specific with the areas I'm targeting. So maybe I would decide that I'm going to do mailers, I'm going to do Google pay-per-click, I'm going to do Facebook ads. I'm going to do all three. Well, to keep my costs down and be super targeted about my strategy, maybe I only select areas that we're already actively working in and I know have a large volume of older houses or roofs or houses with older roofs. So because I'm already in that area, I have a little bit of a presence in there. Maybe I have a referral base in there. Maybe people have seen my trucks in there. Then they see my mailers. Then they see my Facebook ad. Then they see my Google pay-per-click. I'm creating that halo effect within an area, like a specific area. So I'm not throwing a ton of money at everything because I'm trying to cover this 20-mile radius. I'm just trying to cover an area that we've already had success in. So I can keep my costs down by just simply the number of people I'm targeting, but I'm like very specific about where I'm sending my stuff. So I would just place that around neighborhoods. Maybe you've done multiple roofs in a couple neighborhoods around town. Maybe just target those neighborhoods with all your stuff. You know, your mailers, your Facebook ads, your Google pay-per-click, and then you're getting referrals in there. People have seen your trucks in there, and that may be more beneficial if I'm on a budget. So maybe you can look at that. Next question. Where do you guys get your shirts? They are sick, and I can't find them. LOL. Dude, I get this question all the fucking time. People love our shirts. I don't know. I don't know what it is about the shirts. I think they're just like normal navy blue golf shirts. And I don't know where we get them. I'll try to find the link, and I'll just have the link to send to people. I've probably been asked this 12 times, which I guess is kind of cool. People like the shirts. I will say if you exercise, your shirts will look nicer, even if it's just a regular shirt. Shirts look better if they're on a fit body, so maybe hit the gym, and that'll solve your shirt problem. That's just a joke. But next question. I heard you say you were thinking of opening in a different market. Any ideas of when and where that will be? I have several expansion plans I'm looking at right now, and some that I can't speak about on the internet. But I can speak about this one, and maybe this one will be useful for you. This is a great strategy. Okay, so Google is king. I've said it, even in this video, I've said it. Google is king. Google is going to bring you the most leads. So your Google combination and your presence on Google should be top of mind when you're trying to build a business. And there's a few areas of Google you have to look at. Number one, first and foremost, your Google Maps listing. Your profile should be filled all the way out. You should be getting reviews. You should be posting pictures. You should be posting products. Your social media links should be on your profile. Everything you can do on that Google Maps listing, fill it out and be active on there. Respond to all your reviews. Do all those things. Go one step further and get hooked up with a company like PinParrot, who will post photos on your website with like the geo meta tags or whatever, letting Google know about all the areas that you are working in. And with the consistent daily posts to your website, marking your service areas and like activity in your service areas daily, it should expand where you can rank top 3 in your organic Google Maps listing. There's other companies that do this. I used to use one. I can't remember the name. I wish I did, but they didn't post the pictures for us. They set us up on an app where I would have my techs and my salespeople take the pictures. I like PinParrot way better. You hook them in the company cam. They do everything for you. You don't have to touch it. They're reasonably priced. They seem like good, honest guys. I like them. But that's all that is trying to improve your your organic Google Maps listing, which is super important. You can do everything right, but your organic Google Maps listing is only going to, you're only going to rank top 3 or top 5 in a certain radius away from your shop. So like, I live on the east coast of Florida. We travel like up to an hour north all the way to like an hour and a half south. So that's like we cover 2.5 hours north to south along the coast. It is impossible for me to show up in an organic Google search to the people at both ends, north and south of my market. So I'm going to get a location, north and south, so that I can open up a new Google Maps listing at the south end of my market and the north end of my market. And digitally, I will have opened 2 new Fox Haven branches. I'm not using that location to set people up. I'm not going to have office employees there. I'm not going to store things there. I'm simply going to have addresses with a sign on the door, because Google's getting very strict about what kind of address you can list as a verified business on Google. So you need to have signage on the door. They want to see a walkthrough video. They want to see the space. They want to see a truck outside while you're verifying your business. But now I'll have 3 total addresses, my current and then my north and my south division addresses, with 3 different websites and 3 different Google Maps listings, so that I can start to do all the best practices at my north division and my south division online to try to get organic Google leads to these locations. So I'm going to ask all my past customers for reviews for these 2 divisions. I'm going to try to get new reviews. I'm going to try to build up that Google My Business profile as best I can. And I strategically picked locations that were, 1, near my target market, but then 2, closer to my target market than any other existing roofers that are around there. I also picked locations where I felt like the immediate roofers close by were not very sophisticated in their digital blueprint, so that I'll be able to rise to number 1 quickly and then expand my 1, 2, and 3 rankings in my organic search. And then once I have those locations down there, I'm also going to target those areas with other marketing tactics to try to build up the immediate areas surrounding those addresses as quickly as possible. That's something I'm actively working on now. I just called a guy about the north building. I have a couple picked out south that I want to go look at. So that's something I'm working on now, and that may be something you want to look at in the future, or just bank that idea for later, because that's a very good strategy. So now my goal is, if you looked at, if I imagine my whole region north to south, well, my current address is in the middle of that, and I have 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, and then worse. I'm not even touching the north and south end of any Google searches. But now if I could put 2 more pins on the Google Maps and start to build out my ones from those locations and out, I can start to show up green in my entire service area. We're already serving these areas, so like I don't need to set up shop down there. We already drive there, so I can still serve those areas while we're getting started from here. And if they blow up in a year or 2, well then yeah, we'll set up an office down there, and then we have 2 more locations. So that's a part of the expansion plan that I can talk about, others that I can't. Oh, and you asked me where. So the one is Vero Beach, and the other one is like Palm Beach Gardens, Juno Beach. Right now, I'm charging 20% gross profit on all my jobs. Wondering if I should raise it a little more. Have you found a sweet spot for maximizing gross profit while still winning a lot of jobs? I'm not going to answer this for you, but yes, there is a sweet spot, and you'll have to find it for yourself. Something like this is market specific. I made a little short video the other night about this. Based on average ticket, based on competition, based on the style of roofs, based on how quickly you can get roofs done, based on a lot of different factors, the average gross profit that roofers are making market to market, it varies. You have to decide this. I've made a video talking about your gross profit. What the gross profit you need should be dependent upon your overhead. So if you know what your overhead is and you're really early on and your overhead's like 5%, then I would say 20% gross profit is fine. If you can get more, but just play with it slowly, because if you're still netting 15% and you're still closing a bunch of jobs and you're keeping the schedule full, you don't want to mess with that. You should try to creep it up, because the more money you can make, the better. But if you start to raise your price and you realize that you're not able to keep the schedule full, well, you're a new business and you need to keep the schedule full so you can keep things rolling. So just like stay where you're at and just raise it over time. But if you can get 25% gross and you're still selling the same amount of jobs, well, then obviously it would be silly not to charge 25% gross. So I would start raising it by like 2.5%, 3% a job. Closing percentage stays the same. Okay, that's your new price. Try it again. Closing percentage stays the same. Okay, that's your new price. And keep going until you feel like, oh, it's getting harder to close jobs at this price. Maybe I'll back off a little bit. But you have to know what your overhead is to do this. If you don't have a grip on what your true overhead percentage is, you can't really run this exercise. So establish your overhead first, your true overhead, and then play with gross profit until it messes with your closing percentage. But if you're a new business, you want to keep the schedule full. You want to do as much volume as you can because jobs turn into jobs. Jobs turn into 5-star reviews. Jobs turn into referrals. You want to be out in the communities. You want to have your trucks out in neighborhoods. So, like, that's the best thing you can do right now. You're not going to make a gazillion dollars with a brand new business. You just want to get out there and get the ball rolling. That's the goal. Okay, last question. I've been in business for 3 years, and I'm new to the roofing space. If you were to start over again, where would you spend most of your marketing dollars? Keep in mind that being new to the space, branding isn't my priority at the moment. Strictly lead gen at this point. What would you recommend? Much appreciated. I kind of answered this question before. This keeps coming up. You can't be obsessed with lead gen. I know you need leads in the beginning. Do Google LSAs, do pay-per-click if you need to, do even Angie if you need to. Do whatever you got to do to get leads, but you have to understand that you have to build a brand and you have to get out there in the community and people have to know who you are. They have to. Or this game you're trying to play right now, like although you say, keep in mind that being new to the space, branding isn't my priority at the moment. Strictly lead gen. Because lead gen is an emergency. But if you ever want to get to the point where lead gen is not an emergency, then you have to make brand awareness a priority now. So I'm not saying throw a gazillion dollars at it. If your marketing budget has to lean heavily towards lead gen, then it's okay to do that. That's completely reasonable. I'm kind of in that mode right now myself. But you have to be doing brand awareness stuff in the beginning because you're always going to be trying to chase and pay for leads if you don't build up a brand and you don't get out in the community and you don't sponsor events and you don't do charities in the community and you don't do Facebook ads that are just simply for brand awareness, and you don't do mailers, and you don't put your business everywhere. You don't have clean logos and clean truck wraps that are constantly riding around town that people see everywhere. You don't have any billboards. If you don't build that kind of marketing strategy, you're always going to be in this mode. You think you're in this mode because you're early on, but if you don't do any branding, you're never going to get out of this mode, and it's expensive and it's not reliable. And it's stressful, as I'm sure you feel. You're like, I have money, I'll spend money, I want the phone to ring, just give me leads. You don't want to be in that spot, so we can't ignore branding. Again, if your marketing budget has to be 80% lead gen and 20% branding, fine. There's free things you can do to brand your company too, that are completely free. Like collecting Google reviews, your reputation is part of your brand. Making sure your trucks are clean, that's part of your brand. Wrapping your trucks isn't necessarily free. Creating a logo is not necessarily free. Getting nice shirts for the guys isn't necessarily free, but they're things you're gonna do anyway, so just do them better. Spend a little extra to do the things you're already doing and just make it nicer. Like, improve your image, and that will help you brand your company, and that's not necessarily throwing marketing dollars at branding your company. That's just like doing everything strategically, thinking about the way your image is portrayed as a company in the community. So don't ignore branding. It's okay that you need leads, but don't ignore branding. Like this video if you like the Q&A. I don't know how I did. We'll see. So you let me know how I did if you like this video. And if you have questions, ask them. I like answering these questions. I don't know how the video plays out for you guys watching it, like me answering random questions, or you like a video that just like dives deep into one topic or what. So you'll have to give me your feedback on the Q&A.